Before I go on, I'm going to show you this video. It's pretty long and it has 2 parts. So we're going to listen to not every part, and it has to do with this. Just like this suppression I've been talking about very recently. AIDS is being suppressed. Well, the cure to anything or potential treatment is being suppressed because Big Pharma makes billions. We already know that. I've had the creator of Cancer Forbidden Cures, Massimo Masuko, in, and it's unbelievable how nobody realizes. We realize more how a team's stats are doing, but we don't realize that this stuff is actually lives are being at stake here. And now this video here, look up AIDS cure, must see AIDS cure, all caps. It sounds crazy, but just look at it. I'll put you in the video right now.
This is an incredible as well as very controversial story.
And it all started with a photographer who met a Tulsa doctor in Africa.
Now, that doctor claimed to have a cure for AIDS. In fact, the national media
I wish I could get him on, but that's going to be tricky. And this might be the last time for this semester I might be on station, so till next semester, guys. Maybe. Who knows?
A picture of a broken down schoolhouse, one of a mother hoping she'll be able to feed her twin babies. A professional photographer from Tulsa, Doug Henderson, has traveled the world and seen so many stories. But he's kept the story behind one of his photographs to himself until now. It's the story about what's inside this vial.
But the content of the vial is what makes it valuable.
When a friend asked him to travel to Africa to take some photographs, he didn't think it was a big deal.
We had no idea of what we were stepping off into at this point.
But when Doug got there, what he saw, that turned out to be a very big deal. In 2004, Doug flew to Africa to the Ivory Coast, where he met a man from Tulsa, a man who made an enormous claim.
He said, I have what I believe to be the cure for AIDS.
That struck a chord with Doug. He'd watched his brother-in-law slowly slip away from the virus. He was only 44.
Well, that's a miserable way to die.
So when this Tulsa doctor said he had a cure for AIDS, Doug was willing to hear what he had to say.
It's dependent upon the severity of the illness based upon what's known as a viral load and the stage of the illness.
The doctor was Gary Davis, a family practitioner who'd graduated from Dartmouth Medical School and who'd been a captain in the U.S. Navy. In 2007, Dr. Davis died with an impressive resume. But when Doug first met the doctor in 2004, he thought surely a man with these credentials wouldn't joke about having a cure for AIDS. But Doug says he was skeptical, to say the least.
I'm less concerned with what people say or what people claim. I'd like to see the evidence.
Doug says Dr. Davis told him dozens of his patients and even close friends had died from AIDS. And then he told Doug a bizarre story about how he came up with the idea for his so-called cure.
The way he tells the story, that night he had a dream. He had a dream. He doesn't call it a vision. He calls it a dream.
Hear him out, guys.
And in this dream, he was injecting a goat with the HIV virus. And he understood from this dream that he would be able to develop antibodies, a serum from goat blood.
A cure for AIDS from a goat. Doug was even more skeptical. But as Dr. Davis told how he developed the serum, Doug says it did sound logical.
This is a biological substance that is produced after a goat has been immunized with the AIDS virus, and then this specialized chemical that kills the AIDS virus is extracted out of the bloodstream.
Dr. Davis told Doug he first tested his theory in a lab at Tuskegee University in Alabama in 1996. He injected goats with AIDS, and instead of getting sick, they developed antibodies against the virus.
I have been with the doctor for a year and a half.
Dr. Davis's assistant, Linda Wilmez, says the idea isn't as crazy as it sounds.
It's no different than the serum that a horse can make if you've been bit by a snake.
In 2002, Linda went to Africa to help Dr. Davis in the Ivory Coast. And when she sat down with me, it was the first time she had ever told her story.
What I saw, what I experienced for the 2 years we were there, will last me my whole life.
Linda says she and Dr. Davis first met two men who both had AIDS.
These two gentlemen were very, very ill.
As part of their first clinical trial with the government's approval,
This is footage
Linda
of
says
them
Dr. Davis
taking
injected
the
both men with
serum.
his goat serum.
And
I'm not sure what really happened to Gary Davis and the guy who was working, who's probably AWOL, and God knows where he could be or how to make the serum. And I saw one place in the internet, it was some random site, it said monkey spit, and it's just plain bull. Well, why don't we try it? Let's try to do something, but we're not going to do that in this country thanks to the World Order. Now, this story has two parts to it. You're going to want to see this.
Time now for part 2 of our special report on what some believe to be a miracle cure for AIDS developed by
This is
Tulsa
two
doctor.
parts.
Yeah, here again is Fox 23's Janet Clark. She continues this Fox 23.
She looks much younger, but Precious is 17 now.
She
And that's
actually
a big
tried the
deal
serum.
when
The
you have a
mother
deadly
actually
virus.
took
I
it
was
from
born
Gary
with
Davis. She stole it.
HIV. Contracted it from my mother, my birth mother.
Her drug-addicted mother gave her to a woman named Rocky Thomas.
You will
who says
never
she
hear
loved
this in
that
the
baby
media.
instantly and adopted her.
Oh
National-wise.
my goodness, yes. It was just a instant bond. That was my baby.
Rocky says even as a baby, Precious was sick and spent more time in the hospital than at home.
This picture, I probably was sick.
They were living in Washington, D.C., just as they do now. Precious was getting the best care in the country.
She was just staying sick. I mean, we did ample amount of medicine on top of medicine.
By the time Precious was 6, Rocky knew her little girl could die any day. Rocky was desperate. So when she heard about a doctor in Tulsa who said he had a new treatment he created by injecting a goat, Rocky didn't care if it sounded crazy.
It didn't matter.
Well, that's
how
for her
nuts
mother.
it was.
It's perfectly
right at
understood.
That point in
She was very
time,
desperate.
In 1998,
What wouldn't you do for
Rocky
your
made
child?
arrangements to get on a train with Precious to travel 1,000 miles to meet this doctor and his so-called goat serum. And
to eat.
did you know for sure it was the serum?
It had to be the serum because she wasn't on anything. She wasn't taking anything.
Rocky and Precious came home to Washington, D.C., and Rocky says part of her was terrified someone would find out what she had done. But when she looked at how healthy Precious was, she didn't care.
What did I have to lose? Her? You know, lock me up? Okay, that's a chance I was going to take.
Not long after she got home, Precious went for a checkup.
he got locked
Doctors at the National Institutes of Health were monitoring her. When the lab report came back, Rocky says everyone was stunned about Precious's viral load.
I started shaking. I was sweating. I said, "Come here, Precious." And we was in there jumping and screaming. And I was like, "Your vial load is 0. Baby, your vial load is 0." And she was, you know.
She was virtually
Didn't know how to tell the
adopted.
doctors at the NIH what she had done. But soon after, they were all
This is her
there at the
speaking
Congressional
out.
Black Caucus, where an obviously healthier Precious was the keynote speaker.
I know many of you are looking at me and saying, what could a little girl like me have to say? My name is Precious Thomas.
Rocky decided that would be the time Precious would tell the world about the serum. Rocky says she was literally sick with worry.
I was nervous. I was sick. I was sick.
Who would have thought something this special could be found in a goat?
That's when the story came out.
Then what happened?
Nothing.
Rocky says
No
she
coverage,
tried to talk to health
nothing. That
officials.
saving somebody's life must not matter if it doesn't benefit big pharma, I guess. Here is, let's see this part here. Linda talking again.
back and still nothing.
We came to the National Institutes of Health in Washington, D.C. Representatives in the AIDS division say the science behind Dr. Davis's research wasn't good enough. They say
Wasn't
they
good
worked
enough.
with Dr. Davis
And they wouldn't
to
try
to help
because
him
Big Pharma
continue
will
his
get them in
research,
trouble.
but they
And everybody
say
will be
he
arrested.
ignored
That's the
them.
New World Order in America,
As
guys.
far as we
We're in
know,
the main
Precious is
center
the
of the New
only
World Order.
person in
We
America
turn
who's
this
taken the
around or
serum.
this country
Was
is
Dr.
done.
Davis's serum the only medication you've ever taken out of all these medications that actually made your viral load go down that significantly and down to 0?
Yes.
So that's why you believe in it.
Right.
Several months after she took the serum, Precious's viral load creeped back up. I asked representatives at the NIH if they would consider looking into the serum today, but they didn't seem interested.
Of course it's not going to seem interesting. It's an agenda, guys. And before they were going to do any test, they canceled it like the last minute. Why would they cancel last minute? Let's think now. Unbelievable. liable.